G'day there guys, Marky here, and welcome back to another episode of r/relationship advice. Let's go. I'm leaving my boyfriend over a prank. I'm still shaken up a bit, so if this doesn't make much sense, I apologize. Trigger warning for suicide. I, 18 female, have been with my boyfriend, 20 male, for almost 2 years. I moved in with him late August, and things have been pretty rocky. My whole life I've struggled with my mental health. Specifically depression, anxiety, and self-harm. I've been clean for a while though. I also have a history of trauma, but I don't need to get into that. I made sure my boyfriend knew this when we started dating because I wanted him to be able to nope out of the relationship if that was too much for him to deal with. He assured me it wasn't an issue. He never seemed to really get the whole mental health thing though. He would make comments saying stuff like depression is just spicy sad, and people with trauma should just get over it. He also thinks that only veterans can get PTSD. I've tried explaining things to him, but he just brushes me off, so I do the best to ignore him. Recently, he started watching couple pranks on YouTube, and he started pranking me. At first, it was just small things like putting way too much flavor in my water or salt in a bite of my food. I laughed it off. It didn't really bother me, but then he started jumping out and scaring me. That kind of stuff really affects me sometimes because of my PTSD, and I tried to explain that to him. He would apologize, but do it again the next day. I was getting annoyed and frustrated, but I tried to let it be. Things escalated when last week, he put some noisemakers under the toilet seat in the middle of the night. I woke up to go to the bathroom and sat down, and boom! It being late at night, me being half awake, and the loud noise all mixed together gave me a full-blown panic attack. I was on the bathroom floor crying and having flashbacks. After I don't know how long, I stopped crying and was just staring into space, having flashbacks. He came in because I guess he noticed I was gone for a while. When he saw me sitting on the floor, he remembered his little prank and started laughing. I just stared at him for a second, got up, and called him an ass. I slept in the living room for the rest of the night. The next day, I sat him down and I told him he cannot keep scaring me like this. No more jumping out at me, no more loud noises. He pretty much sighed and rolled his eyes, but he said he would stop. Everything was fine for a week. I thought this whole prank thing was finally over. Yesterday, I got home from being out with a friend, actually feeling better for the first time in a while. When I walked in the house, all the lights were off, so I assumed he was still at work, which isn't abnormal because sometimes he works late. I plugged my phone in because it died on my way back home, and when it powered on, I got a notification that he sent me a text. It just read, "So sorry, I love you." I replied saying it's okay, I'll see you when you get home, love you. And I heard his phone ding in the bathroom. That was weird, I thought. I got up to go get his phone, and when I got into the bathroom, I saw him laying in the bathtub. The bath was full of water, there was an empty bottle of pills in the sink, and he was covered in blood. His wrists were cut, and there was just so much blood. My heart just sank. I started having a panic attack. I was hyperventilating, crying, and I was just frozen. After a minute, I ran to the living room to get my phone to call 911, and I hear splashing and then laughter. I turn around and see him standing in the hallway just laughing. He said he got me, and I should have seen the look on my face. I don't even know how to describe the feelings I was experiencing. I was so mad and sad and scared. I didn't even say anything. I just walked out of the house. I just kept walking, and eventually I figured I needed to call my friend to come and get me. At first, I didn't tell her what happened. I just told her that I needed her to come get me, as it was an emergency. She came and took me back to her house where I'm at right now. My boyfriend keeps calling me, and he sent me some texts saying he was sorry, and it was just a joke, and I'm overreacting, and I need to come home. I am not answering. I don't even know what I would say to him. My friend is going over to his house tomorrow to get my things when he's at work. She said I can stay with her however long I need, and I don't know what I'm going to do. I just feel numb. In the comments, what the actual F? You don't even need to get mental health crap to know that pranking someone with a fake suicide is the most a-hole move someone could ever do. And if someone tells you to stop, you do. An a-hole move is an understatement. He actually took the time to think out and prepare the whole scene, which everyone knows is never funny. This guy's an absolute psychopath if he thinks this is a funny prank to anyone. He's for real messed up. It's not a prank at that point. It's emotional abuse, especially since they had previous conversations and he knew something like this would F her up and he did it anyway. Absolutely, especially because she had told him multiple times to stop and he had time to reconsider his actions while preparing something like this. I wouldn't be surprised if he hadn't ever thought about it twice and the prank-free week was time to prepare something like this and get everything ready to prank her. I'm glad you got out. You did the right thing. Creeps like him get worse and not better. Creepy? The bathroom prank was more than that. OP told him many times to stop. He's thinking that's funny and coming up with something worse. No, I know. The guy himself is creepy for doing it. He most likely would have progressed to abusing her in the more traditional sense if she hadn't left. And now onto the update. Thankfully, today wasn't as eventful as I was expecting it to be. I ended up sending my now ex-boyfriend a text saying that he crossed a line and I don't want to hear from him again. I blocked him on everything after sending that, and I'm planning on changing my number tomorrow. My friend went over to his house around noon today with her boyfriend and was able to retrieve most of my stuff without issue. She got all my personal documents, sentimental items, medication, and clothes. The only thing she wasn't able to grab were the TV and Xbox that I paid for, because I'm not sure how I can go about getting those back without him accusing me of stealing them. I'm not sure that the fight is even worth it right now. Before she left, she put my copy of his house key on the kitchen table so he knew I didn't have it. She wanted to unplug his fridge and all his appliances just to make things harder for him, but I told her not to. I really don't want to add fuel to this fire. His mum reached out to me to ask what was going on. Apparently he called her and told her that I had some sort of mental breakdown and ran away and that he was worried about me. I told her what happened and what he did. She was pissed. She said she thought she raised him better than that and that she was sorry that he did what he did. She said that if I need anything, I can let her know and she'll do what she can to help me. I guess his mum told his older sister what happened and she also reached out to me to apologize for his behavior. I wasn't close to her, but I met her a few times, and she's a really nice person. She offered to help with anything I needed, and told me that she was going to make sure everyone knows what actually happened. I told her it wasn't necessary, but I appreciate it, but she said she wasn't going to let her brother get away with this. I'm not going to argue, so I thanked her. For the most part, I've just been lying in bed today. I'm so exhausted, physically and emotionally. I just wish I'd left him sooner. There were red flags that I just ignored. I guess I was afraid of being alone. I don't know, I'm trying not to blame myself for this whole situation, but I feel like I put myself in this position and this is what I get. I'm not expecting much else to happen. God, I hope nothing else happens. I'll probably give one more update in a few days, as long as things have cooled down. If something significant happens, you'll hear from me. Thank you all for your kind words and your advice. It's very much appreciated and definitely needed. In the comments, yeah, she can help you recover your TV and Xbox. Tell her you paid for them, but you haven't been able to reclaim them from your ex, and let his mother be the one to force him to give them back. She reached out to offer help. Use it. Don't throw away hundreds or thousands of dollars because it would be awkward. Best of luck to you. And OP says, that's a good idea. I didn't even think to ask his mum to get them for me. My mind has been so scrambled today. Thank you for the advice. By the way, assuming you didn't pay cash for the TV and Xbox, you can show the cops the receipt and get an escort to recover them from his house. Might be worth a try, but asking the family to grab them for her is a safer bet. The police anywhere I've lived would have said, it's a civil matter, if they even showed up. That prank would be unacceptable under any conditions. That he did it to someone with PTSD is completely unforgivable. Thank goodness she left him. What a monster. Honestly, this is the exact kind of behavior I expect out of anyone who thinks that only veterans can get PTSD and everyone else just needs to get over it, even when presented with evidence otherwise. I expect it too, but I don't get it. Even if you don't believe something to be true, why torture your partner? Because if it's a sincerely held belief, then they don't believe they are torturing their partner. They believe the partner can't take a joke and they're faking the negative reactions. I don't agree with this guy or people who follow his thinking. Just trying to answer your question. Our next post is titled, I, 26 female, am uncomfortable with the relationship between my fiancé, 28 male, and his best friend and bandmate, 27 female. I think it may have ruined our chance of being together. I've been with my fiancé Joe for a couple of years now. We have a great relationship. He's funny and talented, and we have a lot of fun together, but there's always been one big issue: Natalie. Joe and Nat are really, really close friends. It borders on unhealthy codependency for sure. When we met, they were living together too, but she was out of the country, so I didn't meet her until we'd been together for a couple months. They also work together, as they're artists and musicians. When we started dating, Joe gave me a disclaimer about them and their close relationship, but I didn't really know what I was getting into. Once I met her, I understood it. She is the prettiest person I've ever seen in my life. I heard a lot about her, but no one told me that she looked like an effing supermodel. It was jarring too, because Joe's just average. They started writing music again together and performing, which meant a lot of time alone. I was also under the impression that their band involved multiple people, but it's just the two of them. Natalie always invited me for practice and whatnot, but to be honest, being around them made me feel like a third wheel. Then I saw them perform, and for some reason they decided to cover this song, which I felt like a slap in the face to me, especially given the context of the movie. It's not even their genre, and I was extra upset because there's that line, "You can always come in my back door." And we have issues because I don't like anal, and she even bent over and gave a little wink, and it made me so effing mad. Joe laughed it off and said the song was funny and gets a good crowd response. And also they are affectionate. I mean, they're not kissing each other, but always close. Well, anyway, she ended up traveling a lot for a long period of time for some good career opportunity. I had to talk Joe out of joining her, and things got a lot better with us. We even got engaged, and it was great. Then for Christmas, we went out to his home country so I could meet his family, and things went sideways as F. First off, Nat was in every family photo, going back years. Then his mum was asking about Nat, and later saying she was going to be out to visit next week. Joe had a bit too much to drink at this point and got emotional about that, saying he wished he would have known because he would have changed our plans. I pulled him aside and told him I wasn't comfortable with how into wine she was with his family, especially if we were going to get married. I asked if something could be done about that, and he laughed in my face and told me that I could be the one to try to bring that up to his mum. So I did, and his mum looked at me like I slapped her, and then the whole family got upset. Joe got really mad at me, and we left. Apparently she was a foreign exchange student or something, and they were immediately best friends. They were weird kids and didn't have other friends before each other. Every year they alternated staying with their families between Ireland and Germany. I never knew about this, but there were things, like we were watching a movie once and a character was speaking German, and Joe was able to translate. When I asked him what the hell he speaks German, he gave me a weird look and was like, "Yeah, that's where Nat's from." Then when they were teenagers and the two were in Ireland, Nat's family were killed back in their country, and so she stayed there with his family until they moved out together. And they've basically been side by side for 15 years plus. They lived together and went to school together, and then lived together and worked together since they were like 12. Apparently there was one school year their parents decided not to put them together, and they both became so hostile and began acting out with crime and drugs that their parents gave in. I don't know why I didn't know this, and I started to wonder what else. I asked if they slept together, and yes, they sure did. About 6 years ago for like a year, and then one night Nat kissed a guy and Joe beat the crap out of him, and they got in a fight and decided sex was complicating things, and then just stopped? But then they also hooked up a few times since. I freaked out. After all the "she's like my sister" bull crap. Joe insisted that it didn't mean anything, but WTF? He kept saying that it was purely physical and there were no feelings. But if there weren't feelings, how did things get complicated then? Well, regardless, we managed to talk it out, but didn't go back to his parents. He argued that they were barely even friends anymore since he hasn't seen her in so long, and I did such a good job tearing them apart. I told him he asked me to marry him and should act like it. We fought for like 3 days until he got sick of it. Last week, he gets a call from her, and I hear him get upset and argue, and then he starts to leave. I ask him, what the hell? He just said Natalie's in trouble and he needs to go get her, and leaves. Just hopped on a plane and left, just like that. If I wouldn't have asked, he probably wouldn't even said a word to me. So naturally, I was pissed, and I started drinking and sent some angry messages. And I basically told him that if he was going to leave like that and run to her, he made it clear that he was choosing her over me and he shouldn't bother coming home. His response was just, okay, and that he would come back soon to get his stuff, which really pissed me off. Well, yesterday, I talked to our mutual friend Chloe, who told me that Natalie was in a bad situation and called Joe from the hospital. I felt kinda bad then and wondered why Joe didn't tell me that detail, so I called him. It wasn't a good conversation. I told him I understood why he left, but since she's okay now, he should come home. He disagreed and effing flipped out on me. Said that if I didn't keep them apart and put distance between them, she might have opened up to him about the crap she was dealing with, and he could have helped. He called me manipulative and jealous. I do feel bad, but I still think I didn't do anything that bad. Chloe told me she'd be surprised if Joe wants to work things out. I love him, but this situation is so weird. I just want some advice. Is our relationship salvageable? Is what I did that bad? Should we even bother, or should I just let him and Natalie do their weird, not a real couple bullcrap? Edit, I just found out she tried to be with him and he rejected her. And he didn't want to ruin their friendship. I'm so effing confused. And now in the comments, some relevant comments from OP. We got engaged before the family issues. Sorry if that wasn't clear. I was pretty upset when writing that. Since Christmas and the family thing, we've fought a lot. His mum tried to apologize for making me feel bad about Natalie, but I don't know how everyone is so blind to what the problems actually are. Everyone's just like, "Aw, look at them, they're such good friends." Like, excuse me? I feel bad for making Natalie look bad here. I really think she's kind of innocent in all of this. Apparently, she was violently attacked by one of her colleagues. She didn't call him to come get her, I don't think. She was understandably distraught and wanted to talk to him and felt like he should know what was happening. Based on his half of their convo that I overheard, she tried to talk him out of going to her, but he's protective and was really angry. I knew that they were friends since they were kids, and I knew she was close with his family. I just didn't know the extent of it. To be fair, he stopped including mentions of her when telling stories of his past to me because it was irritating that literally every story he mentioned involved Natalie. I thought those were just his favorite things to share, but it turns out it's because she's always been right there at every moment. I swear, the whole reason they ever even pursued the line of work that they did was so they didn't have to move on to real careers. I don't care what kind of trauma and crap they helped each other through, it is so unhealthy. He's gone, babe. He made his decision. No need to go back when he's made his choice about Nat and you, and he chose her. I know this sucks, but it's best to focus on yourself, your hobbies, your friends and family. Find that support and you'll be okay. But it still doesn't make the pain go away. Maybe if you decide to drink, have someone sober around you. That way you don't make bad, hasty decisions. You got this. I honestly don't even know why you'd want this to work. I'm exhausted and jealous, and it's not even my relationship. He made the choice to propose marriage, but that still doesn't mean more to him than this girl, and it never will. You want this to be your life? He'll never put you first, never respect your boundaries, and you'll never feel fully comfortable about their relationship. Move on and find someone who isn't so enmeshed with their bestie/adopted sister/former lover. OP replies, I think at this point I'm done with it. I guess I just wanted some validation that I'm not a crazy butthole like everyone else is making it sound like. The fact that he never mentioned that they had a sexual history to you and said she was like a sister is disrespectful enough for grounds to break up. That's a huge detail to leave out. This commenter is right. He will never put you first. Find someone who will. Everyone deserves that. Yup, and the "it was purely physical" part made me laugh. You don't something purely physical with your best friend/basically sister. That's much more than just physical. You should cease contact and move on. Stop asking your mutual friends about him. This guy isn't for you. He's always going to pick Nat whether he knows it or not. What you should do now is go hang out with your friends and enjoy your time with them. Do new things and learn new things. I'm bored of Joe's relationship with Nat, and I'm not even you. How you can deal with this, I have absolutely no idea. I think I'd have plain fallen out of love for this guy at some point. I can't imagine any amount of adoration I could have for someone who would be able to compensate for this. I'd leave them to their weird bullcrap. At no point has how you felt even mattered. And OP says, she was gone for a long time and things were finally good. I guess I was hoping that they'd keep drifting apart, but first Christmas, and now this. I'm exhausted. He's made some changes for me, and listened to me a little. I guess it's kind of unfair that I didn't mention it, but we had a few talks, and rules and boundaries were set, and they were mostly followed. Natalie was more respectful about it than Joe, to be honest. They were mostly followed, but he turned around and called you manipulative for them and accused you of tearing them apart. Natalie being more respectful than Joe is a huge issue. You weren't in a relationship with Natalie, and while it's good that she was respectful of your relationship, in fact, Joe was the one pushing boundaries he agreed to is an issue. Also, not being honest about their history with you, like the relationship with his family, how they met, their sexual history, his violence to her partner, none of that should have been left so late in your relationship that you were committed and engaged. And now, onto the update. Hi everyone, it's me, the one from yesterday's post about my now ex-fiancé. I just want to first say that I really appreciate everyone's input and suggestions. It helped me so much and gave me that push to finally address what I already knew what was needed to be done. A lot of people asked for updates, and a lot has happened in the last 24 hours, but the original post is locked, so I hope this is okay to post here. I've updated a few people through private messages and was told how to go about posting an update through here, so thank you everyone. Well, first off, I was angry and emotional yesterday, and I reached out to Sam, who used to date Natalie. I figured if anyone could relate to exactly what the hell I was dealing with, it would be him. So we met up for drinks. I'm not looking for a rebound or anything, I just wanted someone who really understands, and holy crap. Apparently he asked way more questions, and Natalie was way more open with him than Joe was with me, and it filled in some blanks, but also made things more confusing. Sam read the whole post and comments, and then we started talking. First thing he clarified was the time they were sleeping together. So per Sam, they were hooking up secretly for that year, and from what Natalie told Sam, God, this is tiring. It started as a way to relieve tension and boredom. The first time happened during a fight, which is so on brand for them that if I wasn't so angry, I'd laugh at that. They agreed to keep emotions out of it and just have fun. Apparently Natalie said the sex was incredible because they were so close already, which is why they didn't just write it off as a one-time mistake. And then the reason the fight that ended things happened is Natalie is going to bring this other guy as her date with her to the party, and she made a joke like, unless you want to finally make this official? And Joe's response was, no, I can't ruin our friendship like that. Paraphrasing, maybe. So Natalie went and brought that guy with, and then Joe got drunk and tried to kill him, so yeah. I don't know why Joe chose to leave out the details that he did. To be honest, it probably would have made me feel a little more comfortable. So he left out those details, but Natalie and Sam told those details, and admitted to Sam when they broke up that no one will ever mean more to her than Joe. I effing applaud Sam for not blowing that up and letting everyone know. I'm not that nice. You guys will be proud of me. After a few drinks with Sam, I took the advice that a lot of people gave me, but instead of just sending my last post to Joe, I sent it to our entire group chat that all of our friends are on, including Joe and Natalie, and then I waited. Most people didn't respond in the chat, but I started getting a lot of private texts from friends. But after a little while, Natalie responded, and I'll just copy her response here. Emma, I was going to talk to you privately, but since you decided doing things this way was your best option, I will follow suit. Joe is just average. This is how you talk about a man you're supposed to love, especially considering he is not just average? I had to talk Joe out of joining her, and it meant he missed out on a great opportunity just to appease you and your concerns. I even tried to invite you to come with us on the tour. You also mentioned him getting a real job and are rude about his talent. You have never supported him. Yeah, you came to one of our performances the whole time and hated that song, and we stopped playing it even though you never came to another one. I am sorry you didn't know the details of our friendship. I have tried to include you and be friends with you and build a relationship with you, but you were too jealous to accept my effort. But maybe we could have talked about things and made you feel comfortable. You didn't even like to hear him talk about me. You also made the implication that I did something drastic to get his attention to make him come out here, and that is cruel considering circumstances. I wish I would have been more around so I would have realized sooner that he deserves so much better than you. I was honestly shocked to get that response, and I was wondering why the hell she didn't even address the important stuff, like being in love or the fact that they've had sex. But anyway, chaos kinda broke out in the chat after that, and I didn't respond with anything. I just sat back and watched it all blow up. Well, Joe called me a little while after that and assured me he was alone. He was crying and apologizing to me, but not like begging for me back at all. He basically confirmed what I thought and everyone else was saying. He was apologizing for hurting me and straight up admitted he is totally in love with her and has been forever. They were even each other's first kiss. I told him I know she wanted a relationship with him. Sam told me, so what the hell was he doing with me? He said he didn't realize the extent of her feelings for him. He thought it was just because the sex was good. He didn't want to admit that he was madly in love with her, and basically he was worried that if they tried a relationship and things ended badly because she realized she could do better, their friendship would be ruined. He said their friendship was important enough to him that he would prefer being quietly in love with her forever to trying something and ruining it. And that's kinda where I came in, I guess. He says he was in major denial about his feelings for her, and he hoped it would be easier to have her as just a friend if he tried to put his energy into a different relationship. I cried and yelled a lot and called him a lot of names. I'm still shaking. He admitted it was a horrible thing to do to me and says he never wanted to hurt me. Basically, he's insecure, and it caused this whole frickin' crapstorm. Obviously, things are completely done. From what it sounds like, with Joe saying he didn't realize the extent of her feelings, it sure sounds like he does now. So maybe seeing this post made her fess up. Good for them, I guess. I effing hate both of them, and I hope they make each other insane. I've thrown out a lot of his crap, and instead of giving the ring back, I'm gonna go sell it and do something fun. Edit. A lot of people are calling them cheaters, but I would like to clear up that I'm 99.9% sure neither of them cheated on anyone, aside from their constant emotional affair. Some of my wording might be confusing, and I apologize. I've calmed down a bit, and I'm pretty worried about Natalie, to be honest. I feel like they're going to be together, and he's going to be all crazy and controlling, and things are going to get real messy. The emotions with these two are way too dramatic. She's so love-struck and blinded by his admission of his feelings that she's going to defend him to the end. Poor girl. And in the comments, from OP, I don't even want to look at either of them. I'm so effing disgusted. That's the least he owes me. Yes, there was a lot of gotcha texts flying and quite a bit of name-calling. Joe stayed out of it completely, but Natalie went on a rampage defending herself and Joe. No one had any idea, and they were freaking called out for it. I feel so validated, to be honest. Natalie has always been really nice too. At least it seemed like it. But then she just freaked out and everyone gets to see it now. As angry as I am at everything right now, I do kind of agree with this. Natalie is usually a very nice person, and to be honest, I feel pretty bad for doing this while she's already dealing with crap. Can't really blame her for losing her cool. After hearing more of the story, and knowing Joel rejected her years ago, and then kept ruining her relationships and whatnot, is really rough. The tide has even shifted in the group chat to anger at Joe, but Natalie keeps defending him. She's blinded by his admission that he loves her, and will probably fight everyone for him. They both have issues, and I bet once they're finally together, he's gonna be super controlling, and she's a free spirit, and it's gonna be a mess. Good on you, OP, for getting out of this toxic cesspool of a relationship. Your ex is pathetic, and I'm sure if Natalie and he do make it official, it'll be a train wreck due to his insecurities and her delusions. Best wishes. And OP says, can't wait to hear about the divorce. They probably won't make it down the aisle, to be honest. A lot of people like the thrill of the chase or the forbidden fruit. But once the chase is over and the fruit is no longer forbidden, then the fun wears off. Whatever the case, you'll be much happier without either of them in your life. Good going, OP. Exactly. If you don't want to ruin the friendship, you don't screw. They did, and the sex was good, but they don't try to date properly? The secret thing was what they liked. Now they have the opportunity to be together. My guess is in 2 to 3 months, they'll start to fight or to mess around to recreate the thrill they had previously when not officially together. And now onto the final update in r/surviving infidelity. My ex-fiancé had a long emotional affair that started before we met. Hi there, Reddit. I previously came to this site for advice when I discovered uncomfortable truths about my ex, and we broke up about a week ago. Basically, his gorgeous best friend, adopted sister, bandmate, and him are madly in love. I ignored the signs and red flags that popped up constantly until I couldn't anymore, and he finally admitted his feelings to her after keeping them repressed since they were teenagers. I'm not sure what I'm posting for now. I'm a little drunk and really sad and angry, and most of my friend group were friends with them first. And after the initial drama, most of those friends have already switched to thinking, it's about time they're finally together. My family isn't too supportive. Not in a bad way, that's just the nature of my family. We get uncomfortable talking about emotional things, which is probably why I willfully ignored the issues with my fiancé, to be honest. I'm at a loss. He hasn't even picked up his stuff yet. I've been drinking and crying and obsessing over every detail of this whole screwed up situation. I feel like an idiot. Why did I stay for so long when he always put her before me? Why didn't I see what everyone else apparently did? He was just with me because he thought that it would help him move past his feelings for her. I feel so used and unloved. I do have plans to get into therapy for multiple reasons. What do I do? I know it's only been a few days, but when does this start to not hurt so badly? I loved him so much. Even when he flew out to her and abandoned me because she needed him, when I got upset and we fought, I still thought, how do I fix this? I'd be lying if I said I hadn't considered calling him, but it wouldn't do any good. Now that he has her, he'll never let her go. Not even that I want him back. I just don't know. I've never gone through this. There's an actual aching in my chest, and I know the drinking's bad, I don't know, I'm so effing hurt. In the comments, this may not be easy to hear at this time, but you dodged a bullet here. Think of it this way. Anyone who was with him did not stand a chance up against her, and it was not that you were not good enough. His problem was that he wasn't honest with himself. How could he be honest with anyone else if he couldn't admit it to himself? So again, that was not your fault either. Imagine yourself married to this partner years down the road, and then you found out. I'm not sure how much time you invested in your relationship, I don't think you said, but honestly, until we meet the one or the ones, yes, there are multiple people out there for us. Everything and everyone else is practice. Grieve, clean yourself up, and concentrate making yourself happy. Nothing is more attractive than a self-reliant person, and you will get there. He was practice for you. It'll hurt a bit for a while, but don't dwell on it, and when you do, we are here. Be well. It gets better if you let it. And OP replies, "It was about 2 years ago that we were together, which doesn't seem that long, but I moved to a new state all by myself, and he was one of the first people I met, first guy I lived with, etc. It just feels like a really important time in my life that was wasted. I'm really struggling to not view it as wasted time, and instead as a lesson learned. Mostly, I feel like such an idiot. The signs were all there and just screaming at me. They made jokes about being like a married couple without the sex. Then I found out they had sex, and before we met, I should say, I don't think there was physical cheating at all, just a hardcore emotional affair." Look, at some point in your life, this 2-year period is going to be a very tiny passing thought. Do not let it rule over you for the next few years. That was a mistake that many of us made, and I don't want you to be one of those people. 2 years is quite enough to form important, strong bonds with someone. Don't cut yourself short. But the main fact that you're able to put your trust in someone and love them fully says a lot about your character. You are destined to find your person. He is out there somewhere, also probably going through the trials of meh relationships. And that's where I'm going to end today's episode, guys. I do hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.